Join Michael Voris this April as he goes down under to Australia for the Charity with Clarity Tour. Michael will be speaking in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Canberra, and Wagga Wagga. For all the details, just go to the link.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Vortex, where lies and falsehoods are trapped and exposed. I'm Michael Voris, here coming to you from Auckland, New Zealand. Beautiful, beautiful New Zealand. And right over my shoulder here is Rangitoto Island. That's the volcano that's responsible for so much of the beauty that we see around us here. And we'll get back to the significance of that volcano in our Vortex a little bit later. We're here in New Zealand on our way to Australia. We were invited to stop over here by a group of wonderful Catholics, so of course we said yes. Now, there's no doubt about it. Authentic Catholicism is on the way back. The shell-shocked faithful reeling from decades of liturgical abuse, homosexual clergy sex abuse, liberal abuse, and every other abuse imaginable are finally finding their footing and their voices. The traditional Latin Mass communities are advancing and growing in number, while the failed liberalism of the past 50 years is finally beginning to fade away. Seminarians are vibrant, orthodox, and they are eager for battle. The young in the church are traditional, committed, and orthodox beyond compare. There is in the church a new and energized Catholic counter-reformation, only this time it's not battling Protestantism outside the church as in the 16th century, but Protestants disguised as Catholics inside the church from the 20th and 21st century. There's a growing force, largely among the laity, but even now beginning to reach into the ranks of priests and even the episcopate that has been persecuted enough by liberal, progressive, theological dissidents in authority positions in the church, and these young Turks are on the march. They're meeting up with each other on the internet. They're collecting together mainly in Latin Mass communities, exchanging notes and stories, being confirmed and supported by one another, and realizing what they always knew down deep, that they aren't crazy, despite being told so over and over by wacky priests and feminist nuns. The faith they have held on to, sometimes by a thread, is the authentic faith, despite how much some liberal Catholic university professor has mockingly denigrated it. The future is with the truth, the authentic faith, and its adherents. This is why, for example, there is so much resistance to the traditional Latin Mass in the old liberal circles, because the old, aging, and tired heretics realize that with the Latin Mass also comes the authentic theology behind it. They don't want to hear the Church's teachings on hell and sexual impurity and sin. They don't want to hear about the supremacy of the Catholic religion over all other religions. The one true faith is the last thing these liberal wolves want talked about. They've spent the last 40-plus years trying to kill and squelch and choke out all of the truth from the church, and for a long while it looked like they were going to be able to succeed. They were drunk with glee, and then a funny thing happened. As the party was roaring away and the eulogy was being delivered over the body of Holy Mother Church, she suddenly sprang to life again, as she has so many other times in her glorious and sacred 2,000-year-old history. The modernists in the church had sought to marry her to the world, and as the world changed, they'd hoped to change the church as well. They fought desperately, poured every ounce of energy into her disemboweling that they could. They've mustered every ounce of energy they can to eviscerate her and her truth. They've trotted out every new and novel invention their minds could conjure up. They've tried the gospel of social justice, liberation theology, an unparalleled string of abuses at Mass, denial after denial and excuse after excuse for authentic Catholic teaching, ecumenism run amok, smearing of faithful Catholics, disregard for our Blessed Lord in the Eucharist, both in the teaching and the manner of reception. There isn't a weapon in the modernist arsenal which has not been hurled at the church, and yet, as they party over her, their laughter is about to be turned into mourning. She is alive again, returning to full vigor, just as her master did on Easter Sunday, which is why we're standing here in front of this volcano. You know, one of the things they say around here in New Zealand, in this particular area of Auckland, is that volcano has laid there dormant for centuries and centuries, but at any moment it could suddenly erupt again. This is something like the life of the church. As G.K. Chesterton has wonderfully observed in his book, The Everlasting Man, the church has appeared to be dead, has in fact died at numerous times in history. But just as the funeral party commences, she suddenly springs up from the dead, unable to be held bound by death. Now, this may not be totally visible for everyone in the church in every corner of the globe at this moment, but it is happening. Just as a pot of milk set on boil never seems to even be getting hot, and then all of a sudden, with no warning, it begins boiling over the edge, so too, the church is primed for a total and full recovery from the bed of death on which she has been lying for all these many years. Young men, young women are somehow discovering a faith that has been denied to them for all their tender young lives. Older faithful Catholics who have kept silent and mournful vigil are having the glow of young faith light up their eyes once more. Do not despair, my fellow Catholics, that many of the old guard still have immense power and authority in the church and exercise that against the faithful. Don't worry about that. Their days are numbered and their churches are emptying out. And the more honest among them know this. It's why they have in some ways become even more hostile, because they see their life's work going up in smoke, like the sun setting right over there. Pray for them, but do not succumb to them. The future belongs to the faithful, to the traditional Catholics, to those who believe in God, His Son, and the church He personally established, His bride. Hell has worked its worst from the inside. Game up. All over the faithful Catholic world, the sense of all of this is very strong. So raise your drooping spirits. On continent after continent and in group after group, Easter morning is finally dawning. Reporting to you from beautiful Auckland, New Zealand, God love you. I'm Michael Voris.
Staying in touch is just a few clicks away. Get the latest news from a Catholic perspective and so much more. Become a RealCatholicTV.com premium member today.